I have met somebody who's paraplegic and her thought towards life changed, and then she got the confidence and came back. Cancer survivor who said I was watching Radha Krishnan and that gave me the confidence, and I started believing, and it all got me back to life. So I've had such experiences that really humbled me to understand the power of these stories. 20-day stint with Business Today magazine. I didn't have any job and I had to live in Noida City. And
So why 20 day?
it was a sales job, and at the moment I got into it, within the first day I realized this I can't do. I did not even know people who had money. That was also a problem, because how many people do you know then who really could give you 3 crore rupees and say, okay, fine, do it. Finally, we met Parag Sanghvi.
Okay.
He was the owner of Sera. I met him and he somehow saw something in me and he said, okay, fine, I'll fund this. At Sahara, we told a story with a show called Mata Ki Chop. That really worked. Two girls who were playing a guitar and singing did not work. For me, child, and that story really worked, and it became the best show on Sahara One. We did another show called Agle Janam Mohe Pitiyai Ki, which became a blockbuster. It was a story about a girl who's being sold by her parents. It took 5 years for me to finally make Mahabharata. In that journey, my whole thought changed, because I started reading the Mahabharata, I started understanding the Mahabharata. I felt that, these stories are so deep, they have so much relevance, it's of so much value, it's so much fun. So I felt, let's build our sets and we build a studio around it, so that becomes our Karan Bhoomi, from where we tell all our stories. And that's how Swastik Bhoomi came into existence. We were the first ones who got the intellectual property for a series called Porus that we made for Sony. And I've taken that to 28 countries, because we held on to the IP.
Any Hollywood movie you wish you had made?
Apocalypse. I think somewhere that film had a great influence in my thinking, because the whole story was about being fearless in life. So for me, it's about taking Swastik and remembering that stories will always outlive us. We are from a country where our stories define us. 50 years later, 100 years later, these stories will always remain.
Hi Siddharth, welcome to Salsa Conversations. It's really a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, thank you for being here and inviting me. That's so nice.
Thank you for taking a time off your busy schedule on a Saturday afternoon, and thanks to a common friend who made it all happen.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a sense about your childhood, your education, and how did you come to Mumbai and that journey?
Yeah, but since I remember, I always wanted to be here.
Okay.
City. Yeah. Though I was born, brought up in Calcutta, my father is a professor of HOD of accounts in Xavier's College, Calcutta.
Okay.
So I'm a teacher's son. We are 4 brothers. I'm the youngest of them all. And very evidently, in my behavior also, I would be one of the naughtiest children while growing up. But I think Calcutta, the city, gave me a great exposure to the world of stories. The passion with cricket, with movies was so high in my upbringing that I always wanted to be here. So I just tried to figure out how I could come here, because you were very, very. My father wanted to, because he had a lot of responsibility. The generation before us,
Absolutely.
he had to take care of a lot of things. The country wasn't the way we were growing up. So yeah, so it was a great time, and everything that I am today is because of my childhood, and I'm just living the life that I imagined, and that is what has been a blessing for me.
Were you always interested as a child in Indian mythology, history? Given that you grew up to become one of the largest storytellers of Indian mythology and Indian culture?
No, I never thought so. I never had such dreams or ambition or anything at all. I never thought about that I will be telling the story of the Mahabharata or the Ramayan, or giving so many years of my life telling stories of India, going deep into it. And because I was a teacher's son, but a very traditional UPI family where we follow a lot of rules in the house. How you grow up. So the value system that somewhere due to the environment, it was very well given by the kind of family I belong to, and my, whatever I am, and my parents, my whole family. I think the value system that they gave all of us as kids, I think, was a great, and these stories would always play a big role in that. And whenever I would do something naughty, my grandmother would call me and tell me a story. That is what used to happen with us, right? And she would tell me a story and give you the moral behind it, and tell you कि ये मत करना अगली बार because he saw you doing something, or anybody, your whole family overall would do that.
There's a learning in that story, a little anecdote or a...
But I never thought I'd be telling these stories myself. I was fascinated with Bollywood. I was only going, watching every movie that's released. I watched the Ramayan and the old Mahabharat. I like really remember it in my childhood, but I did not really decide that I would be telling these stories. It just, not at all. It just been a completely unexpected journey for me, which I never ever imagined. It's just been so beautiful.
So how did you land up in Mumbai then? From Calcutta to Mumbai, that journey, and can you talk us through that?
Yeah, of course. For me, I wanted to come here, but my father didn't really think that this industry should be the one that I should be entering, and play it safe rather because of his learnings and his way of approaching life. But I wanted to do it. I did not know how to go about doing it, so I joined. I did mass communication at Symbiosis, and
In Pune.
in Pune.
Achha.
Yeah, where I took advertising
Okay.
as my masters because he would not allow filmmaking to. But I wanted to come do this.
So you're actually going with FTI Pune, but you...
I never even tried for FTI.
Okay.
I don't think I ever tried for FTI because of two reasons. Not just the family. I think somewhere inside you as an individual, when you're very certain that yes, this is the thing that I want to do, I didn't know whether I was that certain. I loved this universe. I loved watching movies also.
So it was a subconscious kind of a thing. It subconsciously kind of knew it, but it was not sort of outside or it wasn't sort of developed. Is that right to say?
So because what happens with everybody, I feel, somewhere in your journey, you love something, but to realize how much you love it is a journey for everybody. I think that sometimes we get attracted to something and we take that up thinking this is what we want to do. And then sometimes realize that no, this is not that attractive. Now I'm want to do something else, Or for me, it was different because for me, it was like, okay, so you want to tell a story. Do you know how to tell a story? Do you know how to direct? Do you really think that you can write something? Do you even know how it's written? Do you know how it is to be made? It was completely an unexplored world, which I wasn't exposed to at all in Calcutta with my upbringing. And I wanted to come here, but I was very sure about my own self. I had a lot of self-doubt about my own capability. I had a lot of thoughts in my head, whether I can actually learn it. So I was so curious. I've been just, wanting to explore, to understand whether I love it enough to give it all up. So that was my journey. Like, when you choose passion or play it safe, people keep asking me now, right? Today I can look back and say that, yeah, at that point in time, I was trying to dabble while I was doing in advertising. That's been my other...
Yeah, so please talk about that journey from Pune to Mumbai and then your first job.
Yeah, from Pune, we came down to Mumbai. We were 4-5 friends living in one bedroom, hall, kitchen.
Oh, really? All we shacked up in one room?
Yeah. We were some 4-5 of us who came from Pune and classmates. And plus there were many more jobless people like us that time. Yeah, because there was no jobs that time. And, I had a pre-placement offer with Rediffusion, DYNR, because I did the summer training there.
Okay.
And I joined them back and they were just not giving me a confirmation letter because I had got a pre-placement offer. So I came to Bombay and I joined Rediffusion.
And what happened to that offer? Did it materialize?
No, after a week, they told me that, there's a global freeze and we cannot pay you, we cannot officially get you on board.
Okay.
But we want you to be around. I think in a few months, things will become better. Till then, just be around and we pay your salary because my salary was not even 8,000 bucks. So 8,000.
800 rupees.
Yeah, so they said I'll give it to you through petty cash.
Oh.
Because of, from cash, things will be given to you because we know that we want you and whatever. But I said, no, this is not right. No, not the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you declined that offer?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course. Because I think that, I always feel that I just didn't like it to be paid by petty cash.
Got it.
Yeah, because I thought that I definitely will be of some value, and so I left that and I went around looking for a job. 6 months, no job.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a
The struggle phase was going on over there.
Yeah, because how do you now get a job? Because there was a global freeze.com bust. It's 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, that time. So So all of it. So no jobs for a long time. Then I had a 20-day stint with Business Today magazine.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't have any job and I had to live in Bombay City, and
But why 20-day?
because it was a sales job, and at the moment I got into it, within the first day I realized this I can't do.
I'd say job.
Yeah, this is selling print, because I'm want to tell stories on screen, and this is like a very different world, and whether I want to do that or not, but I was certain this I don't want to do, and I got a job with Euro RSCG.
Okay.
They're talking about. But the senior of mine, she used to work with Euro.
Okay.
Yeah, she met me on the road and said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "This is what I'm doing." She said, "But you were for advertising." I said, "Yeah, but I didn't get a job." So she said, "Okay, then there is an opening in my company. You join."
Okay.
Send me your resume. So whatever, interview process, and I got into Euro RSCG. So I
I saw.
worked in Euro RSCG. Then I went to J. Walter Thompson.
But in Euro, any memorable campaigns you worked upon?
Are a lot of them?
Yeah.
So I think.
In this one you worked upon on the AIDS campaign, can you talk about that?
See, in Euro RSCG, I joined the client servicing.
Okay.
So I did not know I'm creative enough, So I got a client servicing job. And in that journey, I was figuring out how creative am I. So if there would be a brief that I had to write, I would write the brief and the creed.
Okay.
Yeah, slowly. I started doing that. So in that journey, I would think about ideas all the time. A very close friend of mine, Brijesh, we came together to Bombay. He used to work in Sachi and Sachi.
Okay.
Different agency, and we were staying together. So you would also discuss a lot of ideas. So it was just about one idea that came to me, and me and Brijesh, we spoke about it in our late night discussions and all of that. That we can just put a message on a manhole which read, "You're safe when it's covered. Use a condom. Avoid AIDS."
Okay.
Yeah. But that needed to be certified by a company, which or somebody who needs to believe in this thought, right? So I approached Mukti AIDS Foundation, and they heard the whole creative. They gave their logo. So we made that and put that as a. So slowly I started realizing that,
And this was approved by your bosses, or this was on your own violation? You sort of do this.
no, this is called scam work. In agency parlance, this is like something that you really believe in and you want to do it. Your company supports it, but not in a way that they just. So, of course, Euro really helped in printing those 8, 10 things. And, the art director from Euro that time, Rachna, she was the art director of Euro. She helped me in designing the look of it, how to put it, the whole design, all of that. And she went with me as well to put them on every manhole in Burley Sea Face.
Oh.
Yeah, and we took pictures of it and we sent it to Envies that
Okay.
year, and we won the gold at Envies. So
Oh wow.
yeah, slowly I started getting. That was one of the things that were exciting, which gave me a little confidence about believing more in myself, and moving forward, and yes, following your passion, and even exploring whether it's a passion or a flame. So all of that was happening. Yeah.
And then after that stint with your Europe, what was the next gig that you did?
So from Euro, I felt that I got an offer from J. Walter Thompson to join them, and I moved from a small agency which was very close knit and very fun people to a much larger agency which was the biggest agency with so many people and a completely different structured world and a structured universe. Very different again over there, but I very soon realized that this is not what is my calling, and I want to go and learn how to tell a story, and that's how I finally quit. Within 6 months, I quit J. Walter Thompson, and I went around looking to become an AD.
You didn't have a job in hand, but you just sort of quit.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So you took that leap of faith and you didn't
Now
love.
it was not a leap of faith. Now it was complete belief that this is what I need to do.
Achha.
And yeah, to now figure this out in whichever way it goes, but it has to be this way. And now just go out and meet directors, become an AD. If you really want to tell a story, then you have to follow that process. So that's how I went, and but couldn't survive in Bombay City for long because we didn't have any money.
Whom did you meet for
I met a lot of directors, not the main directors all the time, but some chief ADs, and because you can't really just go into a directors. You don't know anybody. You're just from outside, and you figure out a way. Keep calling them. I did everything that you
Acha.
can imagine. Yes, everything. Everything. I waited in offices. I've for hours together. Yeah, but I don't feel, I feel that was the only way.
That is a grit, right? That is a perseverance one has to put in.
Yeah, because if you really love something, then it doesn't seem like a job, right? Then it seems like you do it over here. It was just for an opportunity. For not even like I was doing something, but I loved. I was just trying to get an opportunity to just perform, right? So that was a struggle there. Yeah, it was, but I didn't have any money. I went back to my father, told him to "Can help me out, and he said, "This is exactly what I told."
How was that conversation with your father? Not also.
He's one of the most purest people. Yeah, I mean, whatever I am today is because of his blessings, and he just did not want, he had seen so much in his journey that he will not want things to be anything wrong, like the way whatever he would have faced. So he told me, no, I'm not giving you any money.
Okay.
Please go back, take up a safe job, and continue working. Uh, so I said, okay, if that is what you're saying, I need to figure my way out. And I had to. And I took that route because I could not survive in Bombay City because they would not pay you any salary as an AD. They would tell you only conveyance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't know, not cutting it.
Yourself to get it. But I think in my journey was different. I just could not crack a great opportunity as well for myself so that at least I could do it because I did not know anybody. So I got into Sony then. I got into Sony into marketing. Yeah.
Okay.
Suddenly I became a marketing person. Yeah.
Acha, from client servicing to marketing.
Yeah. So I went to marketing. Yeah. And I was working with Sony Max, the movies and cricket channel. And that was the brand I used to handle at the agency as well.
Okay.
So it was the client calling you
Okay, to move on
their side.
their side, correct.
Sure, you know that.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
That happened with me.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I moved to Sony, now talking to the same agency where I used to work. And
Okay.
over there, writing stories in the evening, I would just...
And this was for the IPL, right? So on Sony Max, IPL used to be hosted, if I'm correct.
No, that time IPL didn't even... There was the first time that Sony in India had taken the rights for Champions Trophy and World Cup.
Okay.
Where the Sony Max became the movies and cricket channel.
Ah, okay.
Where Kapil Dev was signed as the brand ambassador.
Okay.
Sera came as one of the extra innings started.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is what
That is.
I did cricket over there.
Okay.
I did movies for the movies channel. That is what I used to do.
Any notable campaigns or any notable things that you did?
See, you remember your campaigns, that way. With I used to handle Kapil Dev.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Caps and me, Caps. I've learned so much from him. I used to be his manager because as a brand from Sony, then I was managing the brand called Max, and my boss was Mr. Tushar Shah. He's such a great person. He's I'm forever indebted to him this life, for what he's done for me, and more than that, he gave me the right opportunity. I think because he believed it. So he was there, and he had given me this whole thing to manage, and I was managing Kapil Dev. And he said, we need some activation ideas. So we both belong to Calcutta. So we spoke about gully cricket because I've grown up playing gully cricket in Calcutta. So we did gully cricket with Kapil all across the country. That really was a great ground activation, for the brand visibility. So I did all of that at Sony and many, many more things, many good things. But the passion always was that, how do I move forward? Because I never wanted to be in... this was not my calling. I knew it already. So now it was just about, how should I go about doing it? So that was my journey that was going parallelly.
And then how did the big break come out? How did you decide to sort of leave your job at Sony, which was covering your expenses, to now taking a leap of faith? And this is really a leap of faith when you leave your job and try to sort of branch out on your own.
Yeah.
Walk us through that process. What was that day? Do you remember the day when you said, "Nahi, abhi job ho gaya, khatam ho gaya job. Ab I need to go." Do you sort of remember that phase?
Yeah. I do, of course, because for me, now that I was in marketing, I did not know whether I can tell a story again. So I made friends with people in Sony, which was the entertainment channel. And I would read their scripts. I would read how they would make a CID, for example.
Okay.
What is the script of CID and how it was shot and how does it look? Because that was my only learning that time, that I was close to creation process.
Got it.
And I met Tarun Katial, and he was heading Sony channel that time. And after a few years in Max, and he liked some ideas. I had a lot of ideas that, these kind of stories Sony could tell, and he liked them. So he said, okay, you move into new content. in Sony. So then I moved from marketing to new content, where any new show that you would want, or any story you want to tell, or producer to come and pitch to the broadcast.
Okay.
So I was in that department.
Acha, got it.
Under the lady who was heading it. She was the head overall and was working that team. So I got into that space. So that got me closer to telling stories. Then I started writing an idea that I had.
Okay.
Yeah, I met another person who became my partner in my journey
Okay.
at Sony only.
Okay.
Yeah, called Vikas Seth. He became my partner. He was in strategy that time.
Got you.
And we would talk about what Sony should be making and, all of that. And there was this idea about two conjoined twins stuck together physically. And then we started developing that idea. And then the whole thing, I don't know how, from where it started, that because I wanted Sony to tell that to story. I never thought that, I would be starting a production house. It's completely disconnected because it's a very big business, and you don't come from such family. Neither do we have the money, neither do we have the thought of starting a production house, or you can think of a story.
Absolutely. I mean, that's.
Yeah, so that's how it was with me. But we met up with some people who were supposed to back us up due to his connections, and then eventually didn't happen. By that time, we'd already walked too much into the water. So yeah, I felt that, okay, then let us keep walking. We'll figure out how to get the funds, because Sony didn't really believe that they liked the idea, but they were not sure whether, in spite of knowing me, and Mr. NP Singh became very instrumental that time for me, but he knew me well enough, and he told me that, if you really want to do this, then you go out and do it as a process, like what everybody else does. Because you're not making a choice which is a one-time thing. You're making a decision to live your life in this joy. So then you have to follow that process, because it starts with one. It doesn't end with one.
Good.
You have to keep walking forward, So that's how I started. We made a pilot. We raised money. I went and met a lot of people to raise money that, this is a show that will come, might not come, but we need to make a pilot.
How did you convince people to give you money to make the pilot?
I met a lot of people. Not everybody was convinced, because some boy who just works in Sony wants to just become a
So how many
producer.
How many people said no before the first person said yes to you? How many?
I remember now, but many of them, and also because I did not even know people who had money. That was also a problem.
No connections, no network.
Because how many people do you know then who really could give you 3 crore rupees and say, okay, fine, do it. It's like 19 years back. So I did not know. So I would talk to my friends who knew. So via, finally we met Parag Sanghvi.
Okay.
He was the owner of Sera, the company which made a lot of movies with Ramu, with Factory. So he is basically the main person behind that company.
Okay.
As a producer, and it's his company, by the way. So now today he's moved on to something else, whatever he's doing. But I met him, and he somehow saw something in me, and he said, okay, fine, I'll fund this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and that's how then he made a pilot and followed everything as a process to
And pushed it back to Sony again?
Yeah, because Sony said, okay, fine, you can quit your job. Because one fine day after 3-6 months at Sony, I realized that this is not something that's happening. And I quit my job, telling them that, I want to tell this story. And if you guys are believing in it, then I will go out and make it with somebody else. But that person moved on. Then they had to believe whether you can make it.
Okay.
So you had to make a pilot, all of that.
All the process.
We followed the brief process and got the money in. We did not even know how to make payment. Like, how do you structure this? Because our salaries always came into our account.
Correct. So there's
We didn't
when the payment, follow those things.
Yeah, the tax processes, there's so many things.
So many small things that are there. Yeah.
They are very important things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Business, you have to follow the processes. But for us, we were just two kids starting up who did not really know anything. So that's how it.
So after the Mr. Sanghvi sanctioned or commissioned that first pilot, who was the one, which channel sort of bought that?
This was on Sony.
Oh, just Sony itself. Sony bought it, and then
First opportunity came from the place that I was working. And they finally saw the pilot. Mr. Kunal Das Gupta was the CEO that time. There was this big meeting where I presented the pilot. There were 20 people sitting. They all evaluated the pilot. Then they asked me, we'll get back to you. Then they took their time and they told me, yeah, it's on.
wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, Yeah, see, it's they are memories which are always will be with you because that's your first love. You know, you wouldn't be even here if that did not happen. So for me, that's the most important. So I have a lot of respect for all the people, who believed in me because I don't even know. And how do you know when someone else believes in you? Then it's like of value.
And how long did the show go on? Excuse my ignorance about those things, but
That's okay.
how long did the show go on Sony TV?
So Ambardhara didn't work at all.
Acha.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it didn't work.
Acha, okay.
There's another side. You just start something and you feel that everything will go well, and you arrange all of this and you launch a show, but it just didn't work because of various reasons. I have my reasons for it, but at the end of it, uh, you know, the channel changed their strategy, whatever, all of it. A lot of conflicts, a lot of conflicts in that journey because
So how long did it run?
the entire tenure was some 120 episodes.
Episodes.
Yeah, in totality, and we lost a lot of money making it.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost a lot of money, which was supposed to be paid to a third person, and we didn't have any money to give it.
Oh.
Yeah. So
So then again, you're back to square one after.
square one, and you could not go back to a job and pay this kind of money to somebody via saving. It's not possible. You already lost close to 1.75 crores on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, where we had taken like 3 crores from him to make the show.
Make the show, correct.
So yeah, so now how do you return it back to him? You can't just go back to a job and do it. And more than that, it was a career choice, and the only way that you could do was to tell more stories. Yeah.
So what is this next thing that you did after the show sort of didn't do well?
From there, we went to Sahara World, which is another smaller channel that time.
Ah.
The bigger channels would not really talk to me. Sony happened, but it did not work. That basically means that you can't move forward because you just started and your first, it did not work. But at Sahara, we told a story with a show called Mata Ki Chowki.
Mata ki joke, okay.
It was a very, very social, it was a socio-mytho in a way, where it's more primarily a social story, but it was about faith. It was about trust that a girl had in Mata. It was her journey in modern day world, but connected to the goddess.
Goddess.
In that space. So that was the show, but that really worked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there was the head.
Two girls who were playing a guitar and singing did not work
Huh.
for me. But a divine child, divine normal, but bhakt child, and that story really worked, and it became the best show on Sahara One. And from there we did another show called Agle Janam Mohe Pitiyai Ki, which became a blockbuster.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a story about a girl who's being sold by her parents
okay.
on just for food.
And again on Sahara one.
No, this was on ZTV.
ZTV.
Then I got an opportunity with ZTV.
Okay.
Yeah, so then ZTV happened with Agle Janam Boy Betiya Ek Hi Jo. Then from there, because of Agle Janam, Mr. Vivek Bahl from Star called me,
Okay.
and I met him, and he asked me that why don't you make Mahabharata?
Okay. This is interesting. Mahabharat. Okay.
Yeah, because he called me and he said, why don't you make Mahabharata? And I don't even know how to, we were just started, right? But it was amazing. I think he believed in me because of the way I told the characters. He liked the characters of the show at Agle Janam, and that's how he didn't even know me. That's how the Mahabharata journey started, but it did not end there. It just started from there. It took 5 years for me to finally make Mahabharata.
5 years, huh?
Yeah, it took me 5 years to make Mahabharata. Yeah, it took me a long time for various reasons. But in that journey, my whole thought changed because I started reading the Mahabharata. I started understanding the Mahabharata. I felt that, these stories are so deep. They have so much relevance. It's of so much value. It's so much fun. How do you create this world? There's so much to do over here. And as stories, because I was questioning it. I was not the child who would grow up always listening to what my father would say. I would always question him, why? Why do we do this?
Absolutely.
But the previous generation would just say that do it now because I'm telling it.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of questions, and I was not so much of a believer also. I believed in, but you just like all of us, you were living. But from there, when I got into the Mahabharata, I felt that there is so much over here that I can tell, and it's just endless. I got damn excited with the characters, the world, the thought, the philosophy, all of that thing put together. And I decided now this is the space that I'm enjoying. Because I was telling a story after all, and I should tell what I like to tell. It's not for any other reason that I work. You know,
So did you work with a group of story writers or script writers as they called, and you developed in the 5 years? What was the maximum time spent on the story writing or the set or whatever else it is, shooting and all those things?
I think for Mahabharata, there would have been at least, at least I would have worked with around 20 writers.
20 writers.
Yeah, over these years. Different people, different takes, because, to get to, because I had to first understand myself, how we are going to tell it. We needed to understand it's such a vast book and such a vast poetry. It's a story of our country, it's just told through very human emotion. So you need to first understand research wise. So the researcher was Madhvi Narsale from Mumbai University, Department of Sanskrit.
Okay.
She would give us the right material, is how I see it. Like there's a version of, there's so many versions of Mahabharata, just like any language in our country. So how do you get to the right one? So it spent hours and years of working on every small detail as to how do you, what is it trying to say through it? What is it making it, of value for the viewers today? So how do you tell such a vast story together? So these were things that we were working on with different people. Finally, I think Nihid Bhuta was one of my main writers on this Mahabharat with Radhika, Shamin, researcher with Madhviji. We were one team, we would write together. We would sit every day for hours, and for how many years we did it, Reva? Yeah, yeah. We did it, but we really enjoy it because that's what we wanted to do. I just wanted to tell a story of Mahabharat. I knew that I grew up watching the previous one, but I still felt that there's a generation that has come that needs to watch it and has too many queries like possibly I would have. And I interpreted it the way whatever we believed in, and we went ahead and told that story.
So this was the Mahabharata journey, and then Mahabharata obviously featured on Star Network. After that, what was the next phase? I mean, you were till now sort of making storytelling or content creation for all the television networks. How did you sort of now branch out on your own into Swastik Productions?
It's been 18 years now for me since I started, and post Mahabharata, I just went deeper into every story of our country. I really wanted to tell the Ramayan story also in the long format because the story also is so long, right? If I'm telling it in a shorter way, then I have to omit things to get to what I just remain on the highway of the narrative and can't go deeper into the character worlds. So somewhere, I've been blessed enough to tell the Mahabharata and the Shrimad Ramayan story, which I've just done last time. Apart from that, whether it's Radha Krishna or Porus or Chandragupta Maurya or Makali, I have been telling these stories over the years in the long format medium. And very clearly, it's been more purpose-led. For me, it's about, why I'm telling these stories. That I'm always trying to make them relevant, engaging, fun, because that's why they were written. They were not written with this purpose of, sit down, I'll give you information. They were told in a way that's engagement and you get the thought and the philosophy behind it and try to implement it in your daily life, so that your life becomes better and you learn from others and not like make all your mistakes yourself. That's in a nutshell, that's what I learned, that because I was thinking about why are these stories written?
Correct.
What's the purpose behind them?
As a follow-up, I want to ask you is a lot of young people. So they, so today everybody is hooked onto Instagram, YouTube, Western content, gaming. But in spite of all this, I see a lot of young people also connecting to our Indian mythology, Indian tradition.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
What's your take on that? Will that always be there? So this will be a core to our who we are as Indians. I think. I mean, the question is really is will 20, 50 years from now, people will still believe in Mahabharata and all those mythological stories that we have as part of our tradition, or we'll just go the Western route or get immersed into AI and gaming and all those other things.
I believe that, you should always flow with the times. If times are flowing into getting into new forms, like from traditional form of storytelling with a film, we move to digital, from digital. So movement will always be there. And, I don't think anybody has an option but to flow. So you need to flow, right? So that is a great thing. I think that's very good. You move with the times, good or bad, you have to clear your rules of how you look at it. So that's important. And that's individualistic or every company oriented, how they would look at it. For me, it's I feel that today the youth is really interested in knowing who they are. They are wanting to go deeper into understanding their roots. And that's exactly what I have been anyways doing for so many years. So whether it's the Mahabharata or whether it's the other Krishna, I always love to talk to the new generation. So today the generations are evolving. They are wanting to consume these stories in different ways, not the traditional way. Some are also liking that. So as Swastik, we've been around telling these stories. The whole generations evolving, so are we. So from Swastik Productions, I've moved to Swastik Stories now. I've changed the yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've changed the whole thought on that, let's evolve with the times. We turn 18. We are now wanting to go directly to the consumer and talk to them, because now they are not just dependent on one medium. They have evolved into different mediums. There is a complete fragmentation of, now you cannot say that, okay, I put one thing out that might just reach everybody. I might not reach everybody through one medium. So for me, it's about taking Swastik and remembering that stories will always outlive us. We are from a country where our stories define us.
Absolutely.
So 50 years later, 100 years later, these stories will always remain, whether whichever technology, AI, whatever. I feel that they have lived for thousands of years, and I don't think that they are not going to live. We will definitely not live. We will definitely move on. But these stories will always live in different formats and in different ways that you as storytellers can get them to the people. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm wanting now to tell stories in different mediums. Like just done a short modern day story with a series called Hamara Vinayak. I just wanted to
But see that.
to just see that if you do it in a modern way with Ganesha coming in today's times, but it still has the values of Ganesh. That's one of a show. We're doing adventure reality as a series with non-fiction kind of a thing. But the most important I'm building towards is this world called Bharatverse.
Okay.
Yeah, because I feel every story in our country, has been written in a verse format. Ramayan is a verse, Mahabharata is a verse, Gita is a verse. So our Bharat verse, which is one destination, where every story of India, every chant, every thing that adds value to the next generation's life is what we are working towards building through our own characters, through our own kind of music, to the stories that could actually add value to every child that's growing up. So if it's a Hanuman story on courage, it adds courage to your life and you watch
Absolutely.
the story. So just the same thing our grandmothers used to do, like I was
Correct.
telling you earlier.
Yeah.
So how do you get to build a storytelling platform, where every Indian child for the next 50, 100 years would be able to watch, hear, interact as per the medium, as per the technology that's going, but get to the core of the value through these stories onto one single platform. So that platform, I'm calling it Bharatverse.
Bharatverse.
Which will have motion comics, which will have, it will have audio stories. Yeah, it will have our own Indian characters. It will talk about the stories behind festivals, why the festivals, what's the science behind it, what are temple stories, so that people get entertained, yet they get to know the core of it.
Core of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So on Swastik front, there's Swastik story. We moved on to, becoming a fast channel. We just launched a cultural storytelling
Okay.
channel. The same thing can happen on live action with on a channel. So we moved on the Fast network and launched Swastik Stories as a channel right now.
Okay.
We just started it, so it's a new journey.
No, kind of fast. Okay.
Yeah. So it's about going to the viewer wherever they are for me. It's not about telling them where they need to be.
Got it.
It's about being where they are is where you go across different mediums in different ways. But tell the same thing, the core remains the story. The soul remains the same across different mediums. And that's the journey of Swastik Kulla.
So Siddharth, tell me, you obviously were the storyteller hat very well, and that is, I think, you're absolutely passionate about the storyteller hat. But you also run a business, so you sometimes, I'm sure, have to wear the CEO hat. Which one do you like, or which one is one which you prefer most?
Yeah, I feel that, preference wise, so obviously every creative would like to say that, I feel that I just want to be creative and not be accountable for the revenue or not be accountable for the cost in creating it. So that's a great thing to do, though. But for me, I feel that somewhere from wanting to just be a creative to becoming a producer, it gives me more control. in telling the story the way I would like to. And I never thought about that initially. And there's a separate team, of course, that works on the production part of it. But understanding of being a producer adds a lot of value in the way you look at things, because writing to creation is one aspect of it. After creation, where you take it is also an area that one needs to work on. And that, if you don't have the complete entirety or like understanding of the whole thing, I feel it doesn't. It's a lot of fun this side as well, because you hear something, you feel this needs to be made. Not every story you're telling yourself. You're getting the right kind of talent. You're collaborating with very interesting minds, who are getting something very new that you don't have. So it's like for me, I think it's very exciting to connect with other people now, because now that we are not only telling our stories, we're building an ecosystem. For us, it's about anybody who is aligned to these kind of stories and are interested in telling Indian stories. It could be a stage show. It could just be a music as song. We're already doing something on that, a lot of things on that actually, on the music front. So we are just collaborating with different kinds of talent as well. So it just, overall, I feel it adds a lot of value of understanding the economics of how do you scale it up? How do you create value, not just for you, for everybody who works with you, because you are nothing without them as a team. So I think it's really made me wise up. It's really evolved in the way I used to think to where I am today. Yeah.
Cool. Siddharth, you also have a very big studio in Umargaon, spread over 25 acres. Can you just sort of tell us why did you decide to build a studio when you could rent it, or sort of go on with the available options that you had? Just walk us through the process of how that decision making came about and the scale of that the project over there.
Yeah, it's called Swastik Bhoomi. It's a 25-acre studio in Umargaon, Gujarat. It's like the first border city from Maharashtra-Gujarat border, where the old Ramayan was shot, the old Mahabharat was shot, Tipu Sultan, and many such shows used to go there. And I did not even know about that place. So when I was told by Vikas only that, there is this place where you can go and shoot, because television, we don't really have the kind of budgets where, you can afford doing it in Bombay, especially of Mahabharat scale. I had to look for a place which will allow me to tell it in a way that, we can be it more in control. And that's how I reached Umargaon. And that's how this whole thing about this destination came into my life. And from there, we hired a studio, which was this legendary studio in Umargaon. But I had always wanted to, because the old infrastructure was not good enough for the way we should tell these stories now. And adjustment into that was not really working. So I felt, let's build our sets and we build a studio around it, so that becomes our Karan Bhoomi, from where we tell all our stories. And that's how Swastik Bhoomi came into existence, so that we told every story the way we wanted to tell, in our space, in our control, where we could design the set first and then build the world around it.
Oh,
Yeah, so
so you build a set and then everything else is around it.
Yeah, because the earlier shooting floors were very small. They did not have that kind of size. They did not have, the ceiling height that was needed to give you a sense of scale. These are details that actually you see on screen and you'll understand the difference of it. So they did not have it. So what was the way to go about doing it? So I thought, let's just, Umang.
Build it, huh?
Yeah, Umang was my designer.
Wow.
Yeah, Umang was the production.
So you like to do big things. Like, don't like it, something you just
Yeah, we just
build
went
one.
on building it, and he said, I said, you'll be able to do it. He said, yeah, we'll figure it out. I said, okay. So, you design, we approved the design, we built it, and we built sets around it. Great fun.
Wow.
Didn't make commercial sense, but it was great fun. But at least we could create something.
So did you have to again go and pitch to some investors to sort of build it up?
We have been building Swastik Bhoomi on our own.
Acha, okay.
Yeah. We've not been, we have not taken any investees from anybody else. On building Swastik Bhoomi. It's been, but it's one by one. It's a brick by brick approach
build.
that we have taken. Yeah. Step by step, building it. So it currently has 17 shooting floors.
Okay.
Yeah, so far we were only consuming a lot of it, and now we are opening up to people, telling them, if you want to tell your story from your...
So what's the grand vision for that?
I always wanted to build a destination where you have your own in Indian roots, because I've seen international studios. I've traveled across the world to see how Universal Studio operates and how they build their universe and how are they uh, putting that to the viewers. And in India, we don't really celebrate our roots. So I felt that since we are telling such stories, slowly, how can I build a world over there where people could travel and watch an Ayodhya or see a Kailash and see some things which are around it, but again, very cultural led, a destination where people could possibly go for and live in some time, which have very Indian roots and tell you stories on ground. So that is where it's going. It's still.
Is it open to public?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is, okay.
People come there every weekend. There are lots of people there. We allow everybody who wants to come in and see. Yeah, it's like that. It's current, but it's not currently. We don't charge anybody. We're not into that space yet.
Okay.
But we have to build it to a level for us to have. If you ask anybody for building it in this, but this is the journey that extends. And I want to build a destination like that, and I'm working on that direction.
Oh, wow.
Take some more time. I think.
I know. Brick by brick approach.
It'll happen.
It'll happen. Obviously, it'll happen.
Already midway in it. Yeah.
So you've made a lot of mythological shows, some of the biggest ones in India. Which ones did you do only for TRP considerations?
The core purpose of every storyteller or maker is that more people watch it. And TRP primarily gives you that benchmark. Yeah. That you get to know what you made. It's like box office. You put a movie, you know how many people have watched you. So in television, the parameter for that is the TRP mechanism. But having said that,
Which one wasn't closest to your heart but karna pada usko?
I really want every story of mine to get the highest tier. There's no doubt about it, because I'm telling a story for a viewer, and I take a lot of that is the whole purpose, that you want to tell a story, more and more people should watch it. But is it only about watching it this day that I'm telling the story? Eh? Like today, there's an episode of Mahabharat, but you watch it 10 years later. So the TRP adds up in this genre.
Cumulatively adds up over
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah. So because you know that when you're telling the Radha Krishna story, it's not like today people are only going to watch it when Radha Krishna's there, or they will watch it whenever they want to watch a Radha Krishna story. Whenever you want to watch a Shrimad Ramayan or a Mahabharat, you would like to go back and watch it. So I always keep that in mind while telling, so that it's not a TRP that you get this week. It's more to do with what you accumulate over a period of time. Because I know that these stories are not only relevant this weekend. They will always be watched. So I would love the highest TRP, but accumulated over a period of time, so that
So now you have the flexibility to sort of do that. Maybe back in the day when you were making it for broadcaster, you didn't have that flexibility, because there it's a more mechanical approach. If it doesn't work for maybe a few weeks or whatever,
shut down, yeah.
it gets shut down.
See, mostly what I have been doing, I have been doing a specific limited contract. I have been working like that. So if I'm telling the Mahabharata story or the Ramayan story, it's already pre-decided that, that we will do in this much format, because that is very important. Otherwise, you're not being true to what you're trying to tell, and that's most important. Rest of it is an outcome of how good or badly you've told us.
Got it.
So for me, that's very important, that in this much time, in a limited period, we should finish this story. And I've never stretched the Mahabharata beyond 260 episodes. It could have ran forever if you think about it from a story standpoint. So I always like to do it as per the medium, of course. You can't do 8 episodes only on linear television. It's that medium doesn't allow it, right? As of today. So, and then to even more. So for me, it's about, what you're creating in the budgets that you have. Of course, you have to over-invest into it. Of course, you need to go deeper into it, We built the IP for Porus. We were the first ones who got the intellectual property for a series called Porus that we made for Sony. And I've taken that to 28 countries because we held on to the IP.
So, okay. So you had the IP with you, but you made it for Sony.
We made it for Sony. But it was a cost sharing that we did with them.
Okay.
So like it was much cheaper for the broadcaster. So risk factor got divided between the maker and the broadcaster.
Broadcaster, got it.
So what happened is that we really invested into making it very well, not just from a writing quality, production quality, every aspect of it. And we were invested not just on creatively. I had written and directed that whole series. Uh, and over the years, we recovered our money because we kept on, we syndicated it here in different markets, in different ways. So I always believed in, telling it in a way that you increase the shelf life of what you're creating, rather than it being a spike and then nobody remembers it. And especially in this space, I feel it's important to make it so well. And quality of storytelling includes primarily writing. It's about your interpretation. Of course, in a television format, you never have the budgets of a movie format. You cannot make it in with those kind of budgets, but still, whatever best we could do, we always push ourselves to get to the best of ourselves with the learnings from the last one. And we've been trying that with everything that we do, with our budget constraint, budget issues, over invested, losing money. All of it has happened. All of it has happened quite a few times with me.
So tell me one thing, Siddharth. In your initial journey, when the going was tough, did you ever feel like quitting?
I'm not a quitter. Yeah, I'm not a. I don't give up too soon. Though I give up on things also which I'm not impressed with. At the same time. But for me, what I love to do, then I not like I because everybody told me not to make Mahabharata. Everybody told me so many things have shut down. Look at where you stand. We were completely washed out. We could not pay any money to all our people for 6, 8 months.
In Mahabharata.
Yeah, Mahabharata time. It took 5 years to make. You cannot stand with the sets were standing, sets were breaking down. Any problem that you can imagine in the world was happening. Nothing was just getting right. It was just like going all over, and everybody told me that look at people don't keep the book in the house. Look at what happened when something else came. Channel shut down. Look at what has happened with the last guy who was making it. He's here. This guy's people.
So also the nailsalers were there.
They are well wishers. They're telling you the truth. So, but the point is whether you want to believe in it or you feel like no, you really want to still do it. So, I was very clear. I wanted to do it.
So what was a North Star guiding you to do it in spite of all these difficulties and people, well wishers telling you sort of give up or try something different? So a lot of us face the decisions, right? Sometimes we have.
I just believed. I just believed. I just believed, and I had decided in my head that I would do it. ये मैं किसी भी तरीके से करने की कोशिश करूँगा, अपना बेस्ट करूँगा. In whatever is in my control, I would do the best of that. I just followed that.
Okay, what is one mistake that you did early on in your journey of Swastik that you would sort of not do today?
So many of them.
But one, if you were to name one sort of thing that you would like to change, or if you had to do it again from the start, you would not do it.
We were more heart-led in our decision making. We still are heart-led, but we've added a process-led approach to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that is what. So you have to be heart-led in our scenario, but we've started to add the process to what you're feeling, so that the probability of understanding and seeing things increases before you are like already you moved on. So those kind of mistakes I've done. I've gone ahead and shot something and felt no, I don't like it now, and this is not working, and I've not taken that ahead. Such a lot of things that happened. Yeah, I made a series called Escaype, which I co-wrote and directed. It was on Hotstar. It was a web series. And due to the COVID scenarios, we really overspent and we made a lot of mistakes in planning and things because of the scenario that time. I had a great fun in making it because you were directing it, right? I had a great time in making it, but it did not make sense because we lost a lot of money in making. So on one side there was joy, on the other side you lost a lot of money that you over due to situations in hand. But it happens. I believe that once you're producing something, you can't be expecting that everything will always go in your favor. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Any Hollywood movie you wished you had made?
Apocalypto.
Apocalypto.
I love it.
Mel Gibson?
Mel is. It's not even in English language. It's in Malayalam language.
It's my language, yeah.
And it's you know, you look at the film and look at the details. He just transports you into a new world. Not a single word spoken, and such a great thought in the film. I think somewhere that film had a great influence in my thinking. Yeah, because the whole story was about being fearless in life, and it was just told in such an engaging way that you could not watch anywhere. So it's just brilliant. I really feel that making something like that is really beautiful.
In today's streaming era where there's so many options available and people just sort of in a flick of a button keep on moving around, what kind of content do you think kind of holds on? I know you focus mostly on the cultural and mythological aspect, but you think this type of content can hold on in a streaming environment? I don't see many of these things on popular streaming channels.
Yeah.
Why is that? On Netflix or Amazon Prime, I don't see a lot of these. I see a lot of thriller kind of things.
Some strategy of theirs about what they feel about this space or what their understanding is. But for me, it's always been like, you know, if you are telling any story today, there's so much noise in the world. There is so much clutter in the world. We talk about the youth being somebody that they don't understand, you know, they are distracted, they have too much noise, they have attention issues, you know. We speak about all these factors, but I feel that today's youth is far ahead of our generation. They really know, in 3 seconds, they can figure out the bullshit filter, and they know whatever's real and whatever has emotion. You see the same youth watching a 10-episode series. It's not like they're not watching. The same youth is watching the 10-episode series, but they're not watching more than 2 to 3 seconds. So I feel if you have honesty in your narrative, if you get the real emotion in what you're saying, I think people love to watch a great story. It's about how well you tell it. Nothing else really matters. It's not about that, okay, if this is the scenario, so I will tell a story without a soul. Then it does not work. Oh, only great visuals will work. It will not work. It will always be the story. It will always be the core of this industry, because this industry is about the story. It's not about what you do with the story. So I think that is the core which I feel will always remain in whichever format, in short, long, multiple formats. And our technology and storytelling is merging. That's a great time, I feel. I really feel tech and story merging, and we are working on a lot of things on that front, using AI in helping in speeding up the process.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, please talk about AI. How are you using AI in storytelling nowadays?
Because, you know, when I started,
Today, nowadays, a lot of movies are coming up and
Yeah.
content is coming up with totally made on AI.
Yeah.
And all these big AI companies are actually supporting content creators and storytellers. Use my technology to do it. Anything that you're working on?
yeah, we made I made a small video around 1.5, 2 years back with completely on AI. And since then, you know, we've been working on a lot of things to understand that how do we use it to our advantage as a tool. Because when visual effects came in, you know, I could tell the story of Mahabharata in the way I could because of the visual effects support that I got. And I'm sure that wasn't the same case 30 years back when they made the previous Mahabharata. So they could do the best that they could do then. So could I then. Today with AI, the whole process is getting shorter. The time that is taking us to reach somewhere is taking shorter. And the words that you're creating is really beautiful. You know, so I think for us, what we are doing is that we are merging the storytelling and the AI, and primarily AI will always remain a tool for us. You know, whether today it's able to depict the right emotion, or, you know, 3 years later or 1 year later, where things are going, it can start depicting the right emotion. But as of now, what we feel is that, and what personally I feel on that front is that AI is something that is a beautiful reality, you know, for a creator.
Okay.
Yeah. You can just go out and tell the story that you want on your own. That is where it's going. And I find it so beautiful. You don't need 500 people to tell a story.
So all the extras we may just end up losing their jobs.
I can just write now myself, and I get to the visual clarity of how I see it. You know, so the process which would normally take such a long time, to me it takes much lesser, because I know what I want. It's helping me in taking to the next step. Of course, it's my thought process. It's not like I'm asking me, hey, what can we do?
But I read somewhere there's a lot of pushback.
You can ask Google. That way you can keep asking anybody. But then
But isn't there a pushback from the other people in the fraternity, actors and all these other guys who sort of fear that they may lose their jobs if AI does everything? Some of these guys may lose their jobs. Is that fear real?
yeah, it is real. I think that a lot of it operationally is already affected, and I believe that it will not coexist. It's not like digital's coming, so you're reading news on your phone. So there is a defect in the print industry, right? But both are coexisting. So the same thing's gonna happen. He'll be live. They'll be virtual. So live action will continue, and they'll be virtual as well. But it will be more clearly demarcated, possibly. Currently, a lot of overlap because people are figuring it out. It's like the earlier days of television, of the internet.
Internet, yeah.
Where the modem stage, I call it.
Correct.
Where you would connect the numbers and it would happen. So I think it's in that stage right now, which is like, it's really going to revolutionize everything that we do in years to come. And it's just like mobile phones come in, so landlines need to figure out how to move forward. But that does not mean telecommunications is over us. That's something that it basically means that the actors will, a lot of actors acting, direction, you will need the mind behind the story. That I don't think can just be done by somebody else. You have to be the soul. So those things will always remain. It's just like, how you had suddenly from cutting pasty, you got a Photoshop. But the same thing could be done, in these many hours.
What? Yeah.
So you still need the
Same logical plan.
need the artist.
Absolutely.
The artist is the one who's designing it. So I think that that's the way it's going forward.
God. And you also sort of branching out into Swastik movies as well, right? Is it like a motion picture that you'll do, or is it anything you can share with us?
Yeah, of course. Basically, I'm in process of getting into, like, we just launched a series on Mahabharata on our digital as well as on fast. Similarly, we are working on certain stories for years now, which we really believe are Indian stories and they need to be told. And it does not matter which language. So I'm very clear on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel that we are language agnostic. We are great story approach. We've been working on certain things for quite some time now. And we're just going deeper in building it. I think I can give you talk about exactly what it is in some time. But we're definitely starting our first film early next year. And we start shooting. Apart from that, we're doing our own digital formats of shooting. We're getting into the animation space with Bharat. We're building that universe. We're doing audio stories. So all of it.
Bharatverse, you imagine Bharatverse to be like a digital sort of a platform where all these things are there, or Bharatverse is a concept and under Bharatverse are different elements that you spoke about?
Exactly. So Bharatverse for me is the main umbrella under which everything happens.
Everything
It is the application that possibly in some time, whenever we reach the application state, before that, we'll of course go through the testing parameters. We'll test all our characters. We've already been on with that journey. Under Bharatverse, we'll have different products like a Great Indian Tales. It's just about tales of India. It just tells you children are talking, but in English language. It's like in English language. So everything in Bharatverse is in English language primarily. And then it can be dubbed into multi-languages anywhere because they're Indian stories. Indian stories did not have Hindi language when they were written. They were Brahmi, Pali. These were the scripts. Then came in Sanskrit. And today we are discussing it in Hindi or in English or in Tamil or in Telugu. Similarly, these stories don't need to be limited to a language. They can be in any universal language. That's for me that story needs to reach. And I feel if I do it in English language, it connects Indians globally. And in that we tell audio stories, we do character-based kids animation. So it's all under the app of Bharatverse, and that's one destination that we are building. But first we'll start with, we'll take it step by step, but that journey is on. So that's exciting part of it. I'm not putting a out time to it, saying that, itne time bhi mujhe karna hai ye, because we need to be, we're designing characters, we're designing our own worlds. So it's quite an exciting journey that's on right now.
So as we try to wrap this up, a couple of last questions before we sort of...
Please.
One is, what are 2 or 3 things that you will tell any person who's struggling to keep the faith? What are your what is your advice to anybody? It could be anybody's trying to make it or break. It, what, how will you, what is your piece of advice to him?
To someone who's trying to do,
Is this, trying to follow his passion? It could be anything. It could be somebody in sports or business or academics or movies. How will you tell this guy? What are 2 things or 3 things will you tell this guy?
yeah, I think for me, I think the most important thing is to have self. Yeah, that is like the critical part. That if you don't believe in yourself, nobody in the world is going to believe it. If you don't believe that, and it's not easy to believe in yourself also. It might be when you start off, you have some belief and you go on with that, and then moment you are hit 2-3 times with any kind of conflict or any kind of issue that is not helping you move ahead, you start questioning whether you're good enough. You start questioning whether, and happen because we're human. Everybody is human. We all will behave like one in the time we are. So, and that's a human emotion that comes in. So when to cut it out? I feel that you cannot stop that thought to come in, but to cut it out, you need to keep believing in yourself. So one is about starting with belief. Second is about you keep believing. Because if you don't keep believing, after some time you will reach a point whether it can make you reach a point which is not constructive. So if you keep believing, it will help you be there. And third, most important thing, to be a very good human being. Yeah, I think that is the most important thing, because if you are that, all of this will happen. Uh, so yeah, how this will happen. So I always want, I wish, and I really like that, yeah, I like this approach of just being a good person. It does not take much.
Got it.
Yeah, you have so much. Yeah. So
And if somebody, since we are sitting in this room over here, and somebody's trying to audition for a role with Swastik, how do you choose a person? What are the things that you sort of look for while auditioning? And somebody listening to this podcast may get some cues from here.
yeah, we have a casting department headed by Sahil Ansari. He's the casting director. He's got his team of people, but he gets he first tries to understand what's the requirement of the story, what is the requirement of the character that you primarily need for this particular story. So then he approaches the right actors. And then he auditions them. So when you come in over here in Swastik, he does not. It's not in the same costume. You can come in like this and then changed into a completely different attire with makeup, wig, hair, all of that, because we have a normal setup here for just to see how you look in this period look, or depending on which story we are telling. So all of that the casting team does, and with the whole department sits here, this floor, and it's because of them and because of this team at Swastik, I've been able to get such great people. If you look at it, we never had big names. I never had any name when making Mahabharata. I just had to cast great actors. I had to cast people who really believed in their characters, who were wanting to go that extra mile, and that's the only way I.
Extra mile.
I only love to work with actors who are really wanting to do the part that has been offered to them. Because I think without that, only great actors will build the characters from there, and that happens only when they interest and know what an artist gets to the table. So if you're an artist, always believe in your art and always try to over deliver and always do what you love to do. Like if you pick up a character like any story, there is a Draupadi or that I can see. Yeah, she did it because of what she really believed. She really wanted to do it well. She really wanted to give the best of her. Of course, I believed in her. That's a separate part of it. But after that, the journey starts from there. Then it's you and the audience. So I like people who are who are wanting to go that extra mile, and I always look for that. I before finalizing anybody, I like to meet up with them. I have a conversation with them to understand, because long format is not a 20-day commitment. It's not a 30-day commitment.
It's a fairly long commitment.
Yeah, it requires years of commitment. It requires years of
Has it ever happened that you've gone with somebody and maybe the person has not turned out to be the way you thought it would be? I'm sure there'll be many examples.
Yeah, very, very well.
Anyone you want to sort of
All sorts of. I think, see what happened again. That is why I meet, because I was a learning. I've learned that when people pick up something due to their current situation, which is, and they don't really know what will happen with them when they go onto the floors. It's also again very normal, right? My sweet little girl Radha, who played Malika, who played Radha Krishna, she was a 17-year-old girl. How much did she know about live shooting? So when she got onto the floors, she would be like, "Where am I? What is happening with me?" I got a role, but so you have to be with them that time, and if you make them feel that it's fine, because you can't just. It's not a job that you're giving them. I feel it's a collaboration that happened between, us and. But you keep giving them the confidence that no, you can do it. You are good at it. Because of course nobody's just like me wanting to tell the Mahabharata story. Not everybody is born thinking I'll play Krishna or I'll play Draupadi or play Radha. When it comes to them, it takes them also time to adapt, to understand, start thinking. But when you finally see them on the sets and you see them growing, the moment they start believing, in a few days you will see Draupadi standing. You meet them and you will feel that they are playing the character. So that's how magic happened. That's what is art all about. That is what is creation all about. That is the fun about what I do. So I am. This is me overall.
perfect. And as I wrap it up, last question, Siddharth, what would you like a legacy to be?
My clear purpose is that we'll build and tell these stories to every Indian in the world across any format that they're in. Swastik Stories becomes the live action destination, which again moves into different formats, and then Bharatverse will come in, which is more animation, English led, and primarily talking to the global Indian audience and youth and this space. So my legacy or my life from here is completely in this journey. I'm not really on with any other purpose, but that this purpose that Indian stories need to have one platform where the Indians can be proud of their roots, because at the end of it, the core value of being Indian is your characters, and that character gets defined and evolves with stories of this like these. So if I can expose them more and more, because I never thought of this also when people started meeting me after Mahabharat, and also while, and I would see suddenly so many thousands of people have come onto the sets, and when I started seeing their reaction as to how they react to the same story that I'm telling to the people that they're meeting, I started understanding that no, this is not what I am telling, and how people are looking at it is very different. It's they really, people have written to me over the years, and they still write to me about how their lives.
Oh yeah, please talk to us about one feedback from a viewer and audience which you thought was just mind blowing. Because I've because in back in the day I've heard when the Ramayan used to play, everything used to shut down and people used to watch the Ramayan. Any experiences when Mahabharata was playing or one of his shows was playing?
Uh, you know, when the Ramayan had come that time, there was only broadcast media,
Correct.
which was only television, and one thing could reach everybody, and that was iconic. That cannot be repeated by anybody because the medium only has changed. But what is important for me and for my journey was that when you tell such stories and these kind of stories, when people who watch it and when someone meets, like in my journey, I've met very older people. I have met somebody who's paraplegic and her uh, thought towards life changed, and then she got the confidence and came back. Well, cancer survivor who said I was watching Radha Krishnan and that gave me the confidence, and I started believing, and it all got me back to life. So I've had such experiences that really humbled me to understand the power of these stories and the impact that they have in people's lives. So I feel humbled and honored that if my work can actually change one life, and make them think something positive. When people tell me the Krishna ideology that I saw of Mahabharata, the clips that we see has really changed our lives. It was in a way what I was learning about Mahabharata while doing it, which we told through Krishna, because there was no other way to tell that in the story. And how people see it, how they respond to it, how it changes their lives, that has been me believe that, I'll keep doing this. I'll keep enjoying this creation process, but I'll always have a thought behind something. If there is no thought on there's just a random meal like a story for entertainment. Yes, very important. But what's the subtext of the story? There has to be a thought that we leave behind for people, and I've seen that happen. I've seen it over the years consistently that people and audiences, when they watch these stories, they apply it in their lives. So I would have every time I would have Krishna speaking about a philosophy in every episode of Mahabharata, to every episode Radha Krishna, do Shiv Shakti, to every story Mahakali, every story that we tell in Chandragupta Maurya, it was the Chanakya Niti. So every story that we tell, I make it a point that once a person's entertained, they are open to a messaging. Yeah, because I would always question, I was Rita told at that point in time, why not before or after? Because you were already waiting for an engaging event, and while you were open to hearing and many more factors. But I always feel that if it comes towards the end, after you got the thought, it just has to spread more positivity. Yeah, there is so much noise, so much clutter. There is so much happening right now. People are wanting some positivity. So I want to be in this space. I want to, and I like doing it more than anything else. So there is nobody forcing us, all of us at Swastik, because we are people very clearly aligned to this purpose. We do it with a lot of joy. We do it with a lot of compassion, because that's very important or core of it. So this is what I want to do. I want to keep doing that. People.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's my that's.
Well, Siddharth, wonderful. Thank you for talking to us. And I hope people who are watching this podcast remember the takeaway is to learn from Siddharth, is to dream big, never to give up, and his doggedness about building stories around Indian mythology, Indian culture. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.